I need to cover pop culture news. I have to do this or else I'm going to drown underneath the sheer amount of it. To me, I cannot believe that this piece got published because it is so petulant. It is really embarrassing. And this is the opinion column in the Hollywood Reporter that came out yesterday by Jeff Rabon about Chappell Roan. You would not be shocked to learn that he is a music executive. So, wow, very surprising that he threw a fit about Chappell Roan's speech. Yeah, and then Halsey called him out in her Instagram story, which we'll take a look at. Also, you should see Jeff's thoughts on Palestinians, which after I read this piece to you, I bet you can guess whether or not he's an ally. This guy is a middle-aged man who wrote a piece in the Hollywood Reporter, truly throwing a fit about Chappell Roan's Grammy speech. And of course, he is a music executive. And I do love that this got community noted on Twitter. It even says, Jeff Rabon is the former chair of the Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music at Tisch School of the Arts, New York University. He's also co-founder and CEO of boardofed.com, an edutainment platform for consumers and industry professionals. This is one of those things where when a piece like this drops, people immediately will clock who the writer is. It's always the worst person, right? It's always somebody who, of course, feels personally slighted, who feels pissed off, and then who, has the ability to go get a column in the Hollywood Reporter. Here's the community note. Written by a record company exec. People clocked this within 2 seconds of this piece dropping. Context: Jeff Rabon, the writer for this piece, defending major labels against criticisms of greed and mistreatment, formerly worked as an executive for major labels such as Atlantic Records and Elektra Records.
Record labels need to treat their artists as valuable employees with a livable wage and health insurance and protection. Labels, we got you, but do you got us?
Do you got us? Okay, so that's her speech. Here is the opinion piece. Chappell Roan. The Grammy winner for Best New Artist gets respect and true appreciation for her creativity and gumption, but is far too green and uninformed to be the agent of change that she aspires to be today. It's always interesting, before we get into this, how people who are not agents of change, who are not, using their platforms to advocate for those who have less, how they always have something to say about those who do. What would Prince say? Or Tom Petty? Don't mention their names. Keep their names out your mouth. They fought for their souls and for the rights to their music, putting their careers in jeopardy for what they believed was artistic integrity, the hallmark of greatness. This is giving old man with his fist raised to the sky. When you've been around long enough, you know that real substantive change doesn't come from speeches. Don't bother, because giving a speech or raising $1.6 million for Palestine, don't even bother, because that's not going to fix the whole problem, so why even change? It comes from where the rubber meets the road, life and limb, harm's way, risking it all with action. Whether it is Prince wresting back control of his master recordings at the height of his popularity, or Petty funding his iconic album Damn the Torpedoes himself and then refusing to release it, what does this have to do with Chappell? Okay, yeah, I like how he's using these examples of male artists and being like, look at how amazing these male artists were. Chappell Roan, f*** off, you'll never be Prince. So Chappell, using her platform as a new artist, jeopardized her, her newfound fame, her standing in the industry, because she's new. She's not deeply entrenched in the way that Taylor Swift or Beyonce is. And he's like, no, not good enough. Not good enough. You have to do this or I won't even consider you to be somebody of value. But that table requires a willingness to leave blood on the floor and to put your money where your mouth is. It seems Chappell Roan wants to turn labels into landlords, bosses, and insurance providers. Have you ever tried to get your expenses reimbursed from a major label? Yet somehow you want them in charge of healthcare claims? Oh my God. Brother, you are turning this into something else. She said, if my label would have prioritized artists' health, I could have been provided care by a company I was giving everything to. Because after she was dropped by her label, Atlantic Records, she struggled to find a job and affordable health care. She was younger than 26 and was new in the industry and was out on her ass and was talking about how it was a very difficult experience and how she does not want artists who, are in a similar position to how she used to be to have to struggle in this way. The music business does not cater to artists as employees. What she's saying is that labels who make a lot of money off of artists, she's like, they should be treating them not as just an entity for them to make money off of, but to treat them as human beings who are employed underneath them and to care about them, not just look at them as dollar signs. As if labels want next year's winner to shout them down as slumlords in front of 60 million viewers, the architect of such a system, Motown's trailblazing Berry Gordy, received his fair share of criticism for Hitsville's unprecedented success, but the artists were happy with their royalties and credits, right? Exactly. Roan gets respect and true appreciation for her artistry and gumption, but is far too green and too uninformed to be the agent of change she aspires to be today. This is so condescending. It is giving oh, it's very sweet that you care. I get it. You're young. You have a big heart, but you know nothing. It's giving, sit down, little girl. This is beyond you. Poor little girl. Your opinion doesn't count till you've been beaten down to the submission of your label. On the one hand, Chappell has exploded this last year. She has received a lot of accolades. She's a huge name now. She won one of the big 4 awards at the Grammys, but also she is new. She has risked a career by continuing to call out these systems of power. Chappell may evolve quickly, perhaps build a confab of power-wielding playmakers, or even pass the torch to another leader-to-be. But her Grammy speech was a hackneyed and plagiarized script of an artist basking in industry love while broadcasting naivete and taking aim at the very machine that got her there. What he is saying is be grateful. Do you know how lucky you are to be where you are? You're going to come after the machine that got you to where you are, where first of all, that takes away from her. It's the only reason that you are where you are is because of the labels, is because of the industry that you have the nerve to criticize. How dare you? If labels are responsible for artists' wages, healthcare, and overall well-being, where does it end and personal responsibility begin? Oh, he hit her with the you have personal responsibility. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Be an individual. Should Chris Blackwell put a mint on her pillow and tuck her in at night too? There's no moral or ethical obligation by any standard that holds labels responsible for the allocation of additional funds beyond advances and royalties. Okay, so that is his whole thesis. That line right there. There is no moral or ethical obligation by any standard, because what he's saying is that that's never been the way. You think that we're going to change it? We're not morally or ethically obligated. This is the point of why Chappell is getting up on stage and saying what she said. That's literally the problem. Yes, that is what this is all about. Roan's call for record labels to pay artists a livable wage and provide healthcare was noble, but also wildly misinformed. Her rise to stardom, fueled by viral moments, major label backing, and an industry desperate for the next alternative pop starlet, proves she's no longer a struggling artist. She should do something about it rather than just talk at it. Oh, okay. Change is waiting to be championed, not just announced. Thank you so much, Jeff. Once again, guy who doesn't care about your cause, telling you how to do your cause. That's what it is. Chappell Roan, born Kaylee Rose Amstutz, isn't the first artist to frame themselves as an outsider railing against the system. Oh my God, I'm sorry I keep stopping every sentence, but the idea that now that Chappell is a big name, she's no longer an outsider. So therefore, anything she has to say, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's not just irrelevant. He's saying that she's actually the establishment now. When you amass power, when you have the biggest stage, which Chappell had on the night of the Grammys, that is when you advocate. She is using this stage because she has this stage now. When you finally have a platform is when you should not when you should stop advocating. It's when you recognize that you now can be seen and heard by more people. You speak for those who have less, who do not have the means, who once upon a time, it's I was there, and I don't want people to have to suffer this way, to have to struggle this way. I want to change things. The moment that Chappell stepped onto the Grammy stage Sunday night, she was no longer the scrappy indie artist fighting from the fringes. She became part of the establishment. It is disingenuous to cash a fat label check, ride meaningful industry support to mainstream success, and then act like the kid who didn't get picked for dodgeball when your name is called. I will break the news. Oh, thank you, Jeff. You are no longer a revolutionary fighting the power, the oldest music cliche in history, but you are positioned to do great things for artists and writers nonetheless. See, there's still room for puppy dogs and ice cream in this story. This man is such a petulant baby. There's still room for puppy dogs and ice cream in this story are real words that this man wrote. Roan is a product of the same system that she's critiquing. Island, a subsidiary of Universal Music Group, the world's biggest music company for many years running, didn't throw down big bucks for fun. They ran the numbers, assessed potential revenue, and invested hard cash and company bandwidth to build her identity and a sustainable business around her music. First of all, Chappell Roan built her identity, okay? She is not a robot that the labels just plucked out of obscurity, okay? She's not an industry plant. They saw the crowd sizes that Chappell was pulling, okay? They saw how much people loved what Chappell Roan represented, how much they loved her music, how much they loved who she was. Record labels are businesses, not charities, and the deal is simple. They put up the money, take the risk, and in return, they get a cut of the profits. Could the system be better? Sure. Should artists get better deals? Absolutely. But Roan's speech lacked the nuance and industry awareness to build any consensus or even speak to the priorities of an artist's platform of issues. Demanding that labels pay artists like salaried employees ignores the fundamental economic structure of the business. No one is forcing artists to sign deals. Oh, okay. For the 1 millionth time, if they don't like the terms, they can stay independent, own their masters, and take the financial risk themselves. If you don't like it, get out. So a label should be slapped for running its business like a business while your advance goes towards more important things, like a personal ayahuasca shaman from Detroit and a toilet that speaks 4 languages. Make it make sense. Why isn't Roan pushing her artist peers to put their money where their mouth is and donate 2 to 3% of their advance to a fund that supports fellow artists? Guy who doesn't care about your cause telling you how to do your cause. She's now breathing rarefied elite level air, and the time is limited to get the Beyoncés, the Biebers, the Taylors, the Brunos on board, since the only way across the finish line is top-down funding. If they're truly concerned about a livable wage, maybe they should look at how their advances are structured first. Labels get and deserve plenty of criticism, but writers, the backbone of this industry, are suffering far worse than performing artists. This man really just did people have it worse than you as his argument for why artists should not be advocating for themselves. Like, yes, take care of writers. You don't give a shit about them, my guy. Y'all, these were the same things that were said during the writers and actors strike. You think you have it bad? Insert somebody who has it worse. It's like, do you understand that that is not a valid argument? And it's always by people like Jeff who don't care about any of these people. This whiny expectation that labels and our publishers should be responsible for making artists function as fully formed adults is absurd and reeks of entitlement. Record labels are structured as investments, not salaries. When an artist signs a contract, the label provides an advance, which is essentially a loan. I love that you're telling somebody who's been through this, okay? You are telling somebody, Chappell Roan, who has literally been through this. Thank you for explaining it. Should artists have better healthcare options? Absolutely. Sounds like a union thing to me. Most independent managers don't have insurance either. It's a flaw in the industry at large, not just on the label side. Oh, okay, so let's not call out labels because it's a problem in the entire industry. If you say Bill Maher had a point, honestly, at this point, opinion discarded. Recently, Bill Maher's critique of Roan on Real Time hit the mark, calling her out for the trendy performative activism. Oh yeah, Bill Maher, another guy who doesn't give a shit about your cause, telling you how to do your cause. The trendy performative activism that plagues young stars, where they make grand statements without understanding the complexities of the issues that they're addressing. Maher's point? Roan is uninformed, not because she's untalented, but because she hasn't lived in the industry long enough to understand its intricate workings. Now anointed Best New Artist, she's experiencing her first wave of mainstream success, and like many before her, believes she's in a position to dictate systemic change without offering tangible solutions. And therein lies the problem. Artists like Roan aren't changing the game, they're repeating the old one. Young stars are getting a taste of success, turning into critics of the machine that elevated them, and ultimately continuing to profit from that very system. So you say you're a socialist? How could you have a house? So you critique capitalism, and yet you benefit from capitalism. I am very smart. So you have profited from this system that you also critique. Therefore, no one should take you seriously. Labels, we got you, but do you got us? Roan lamented to those in the front rows. The words of a fighter not yet ready for a shot at the title. This isn't a game of laser tag at the mall with your friends. It's bare-knuckle warfare at sold-out Madison Square Garden. It's the toughest business on earth. The artists and managers wearing their grown-up pants know that the high-stakes game of commercial creativity has a talent plateau and a shelf life. Altruistic and good intentions never overshadow reality. They got you until you no longer add value, and you got them until a different one tells you you're smarter and more talented and will prove it with money. It's not cynicism, it's acceptance. Stevie Nicks foreshadowed this with, Stevie Nicks, who also supported Chappell Roan. Can I handle the seasons of my life? That pit of uncertainty that passage of time brings? Labels and publishers cannot fix all that is broken, or be deemed evil for not picking up careers and lives that shatter when the window of opportunity slams shut. Own it. It makes seeing solutions easier when you realize there's just us. Right, Stevie? You dumbass. You want to know how Chappell's words have had reverberations already? That Stevie fucking Nicks praised Chappell. That Stevie Nicks in an interview was like, I like what she's saying. I stand by her. The same Stevie Nicks whose lyrics you are quoting right here. The industry matrix is far from perfect and often a dysfunctional clown show, but Roan isn't ready to be Neo. Oh, bitch. Get out of here. Get out of here with the Matrix quoting. She alone cannot change what requires a village. Get off the Grammy stage and find the smartest people you know to help build a platform. Use your celebrity to twist arms for good. Go to the homes of your industry partners and just listen. I like how he thinks that the only thing Chappell's done is speak on the Grammy stage. Otherwise, you are liable to become just another artist no one cares about in the industry, burning their 15 minutes of fame for an echo chamber of applause. Great songs last a lifetime and more, and I am certain that the very real struggles our beautiful creative community face are deserving of far more than a trending sticker for just one day. All right, Jeff, so here's what Halsey had to say. Jeff is an idiot, all right? Jeff is a piece of shit. But Jeff is ignoring how every time Chappell has said something, it has had an effect not just on us normal people, but also on her peers. Halsey came to Chappell Roan's defense after The Hollywood Reporter published a scathing takedown of her. It was not a takedown. Let's just be clear, okay? It was a 54-year-old man throwing a fit. In a text-only Instagram story, Halsey tagged The Hollywood Reporter directly. Good for her. I hope you are embarrassed of the absolute personal attack that you have ran and disguised as critical journalism. Halsey, who uses she/they pronouns, wrote, Jeff Rabon's ranting, seething tantrum, that's exactly what it was. It was a tantrum, is loaded with assumptions and accusations that generalize the experience of every artist to that of the most successful. Our industry is comprised of thousands of voices. The elite at the very top of the class are not the example of a monolithic experience for all artists. Common Halsey W. Halsey went on to point out how record advances are for affording survival and are a game of investment. They continued, if you want to profit off of someone else's art, that artist should have the basic living means to feel safe enough to create that art. Yep, and that is what Chappell Roan was talking about. An artist like Chappell, who has worked for over a decade, is not an instant industry insider. And to compare the payoff of her actions to those of an industry titan like Taylor Swift, when Chappell hasn't even spun the block enough times to see the residuals of her long-earned but sudden success, is irresponsible for someone with your experience in this industry. She ended her post by calling the piece bootlicking behavior. That is exactly what it is. Shame on you, bootlicking behavior. Make no mistake here, okay? Fuck Jeff Rabon, but also The Hollywood Reporter, who gladly gave him space to write that piece. Chappell has yet to comment on the op-ed. And when she comments, if she comments, we will be waiting Jeff threatening a Palestine supporter. There is nothing that would shock me. We would watch until the end, except the last 2 minutes you cut off where your man gets kicked in the mouth, cries on the tree where you all lies. You deserve a beeper. Hollywood Reporter, is there a reason you employ a guy that sends death threats to people for being pro-Palestine? Do you guys just love his anti-labor stances that much? Very cool. Jeff, great guy.